So I love talking about moving to Ontario, specifically the Greater Toronto area. And I've had a lot of people ask me, what about rural Ontario? So in today's video, I want to address just that. What are the 5 things you should know about if you're moving to rural Ontario? And really, I'm going to share my experience with you because I did it. I moved out of suburbia. And in this video, I'm going to get into the 5 things that will really help you figure out if maybe this might be an option for you guys. So let's get into that right now. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Nasira Jamal and I'm a local realtor right here in the Greater Toronto area with the Canada Realty Group. Now, if this is your first time to the channel and you want to learn everything there is to know about living, working, playing, sleeping, eating, and even what would it take to move to rural Ontario, then make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn your notification on so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Honestly, I get calls every single day from people moving to the area, relocating, and I absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about moving here or relocating, or maybe you just are coming to check it out, make sure you give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. You can even send that pigeon carrier. However you want to get a hold of me, I've got your back when you're moving into the Greater Toronto area. So I've been doing a lot of videos for those of you who are moving to the Greater Toronto area, and I've had a lot of people reach out and ask questions about moving out of the GTA or maybe considering rural Ontario, and what does this mean? So in today's video, I really wanted to go over the 5 things that you need to consider if you're going to consider living outside of the Greater Toronto area in what's called rural Ontario. And I'm going to share my experience. I'm going to share some of my clients who have done this, gone through this process, so you can see if maybe this might be an option for you and your family. So the first thing that I would say is you have to consider amenities and how close you want to be to them. Now, where I've chosen to live, and I think what I would call my move out of a suburb area, out of Brampton to a small town called Orangeville, is I would call that a baby step. And I didn't do a big rural move, meaning I'm not on a farmhouse, really tucked away out of almost like you'd want to call civilization. But really, I've had clients do the move where they've bought, 50 acres, they've bought an old farmhouse. Actually, one of my clients, she had a child with severe food allergies, and the reason they made the move was that she could do her own gardening. They wanted to ensure that the child was not getting any processed foods, and this really helped in terms of helping her son get better in his own, whatever he was dealing with in terms of his allergies to many food items. And they really created a lifestyle that worked for their family. And I find during COVID times, people are really reconsidering what their lifestyle is. And because there's so many people working from home, the option of going further out of the GTA is really now more feasible for people. And so let's talk about amenities. Now, when you do move out into a smaller township, maybe it's a rural county, what you want to see is, what does your lifestyle need? How close do you want to be to amenities like shopping, groceries, family? Like these are things that you really have to consider. For me, when we were looking at Orangeville, in the beginning, I really fought it with my then fiance, is that I was going to be like an hour away from my mom, who I visit, every Sunday, or sometimes a couple of times a week I was going, and she lives in Richmond Hill. So the hour drive was something that was really, I had to reconsider, and I played it in my head over and over again. Now, I'll tell you on the flip side of it, now that I've lived in just outside of Orangeville for almost 3 years, that hour drive is not a big deal. Actually it takes 57 minutes. I time it every single time. And the reason is, I mean, the drive down Highway 9 is absolutely gorgeous. I don't get tired of it. It's just beautiful. And so it's not like I'm in, gridlock traffic going down of an hour drive. It's just a very pretty drive. So these are things that you have to consider as to what type of lifestyle changes or adjustments will you have to make if you're really used to living in a very, in a community where it's like a suburb, where it's a big city, you've got access to everything, you've got lots of people, lots of cars, lots of grocery stores, and everything is around you. And if you're looking at moving further out than what I did, then, grocery stores can be a 20-minute, 30-minute drive. I'll tell you, one of the things I did have to adjust to, and though I wouldn't say I'm a shopaholic, but I did miss going into a indoor shopping center. So from where I'm at, it's in a small town called East Garifraxa. And from here, the closest shopping center is Bramalea City Centre, which is in Brampton, and it's about 30 minutes away. The other mall, which is Upper Canada Mall, which is north of me in Newmarket, is about a 45-minute drive. So if I'm looking at, taking a trip to the mall, I do have to sort of look at my timing, as it's not just going to be there and back. That half an hour, 45-minute has to be put into my drive time. But again, it's not like it's not accessible. It's just that now I have to plan my trips to the shopping center. And really, when COVID hit, there was no shopping anyways. What that has really helped me do is save on the pocketbook, because I have done very little shopping over the last few years that I've lived here, and even more so during COVID. Of course, I know a lot of people, do the online shopping. I just haven't gotten into that. But again, these are things that have to be considered when you're moving into a smaller town out of a suburb area, or if you're moving out from a different country, then you want to look at your options as to, what is one, your lifestyle, and two, affordability. If you're living right within the Greater Toronto Area, you're going to find that things are, expensive. As I've talked about this in my other videos, the housing market is literally on fire here, and things are more and more expensive. So as you move out, you do get more bang for your buck in terms of, your house. So that is something that you have to consider when you're thinking about rural Ontario as opposed to living in one of the larger cities in the Greater Toronto Area. The other thing to consider, and I had to consider this as well, is, where is the medical facility? Where's the hospital? How close is it? And, if you've got either children with medical needs, or you just want to be near a hospital, this is something that you'll have to look at as to the area that you choose. For me, the hospital is literally 5 minutes down the road in Orangeville, even though I live just outside of Orangeville. I live in a very small community of 2,500 people, whereas Orangeville, the city, or the town, let's call it, is about 26,000 people. So the amenities are here, the infrastructure is here, and that's why I call this a baby step. I'm not really on, 50 acres with a farmhouse with nobody near me for miles on end. I still have the luxury of having grocery stores, within like 5 minutes from me. I'm downtown Orangeville in about 7 minutes. And the program my son goes to, the day program, is literally 6-7 minutes drive. So it's not really a huge adjustment for me in terms of, getting places. However, actually, I have to say that it's actually made it easier, because when I lived in Brampton, wherever I was going, it was still a 10, 15, 20-minute ride. Whereas here, things just are, maybe because traffic is less and it's a smaller town, it's just easy to get to places. For the most part, I'll tell people, it's 5 minutes. Everything is 5 minutes from me, like the bank, the grocery store, the dollar store, what they call Orangeville Shopping Mall, which really, trust me on this one, it is not a shopping mall. I would call it maybe a small plaza. There's a couple of stores. I know they are revamping it right now. They're adding some things, but it's nowhere near what you would find in a large shopping mall like Bramalea City Centre, Square One, Upper Canada. So, those are things that were adjustments for me, but really it was quick. I didn't really miss it so much. So the other thing, if you're moving to a smaller town outside of sort of that suburb area like Brampton, Mississauga, Vaughan, What you want to look at is schools. And of course we have schools here in Orangeville, but if you're moving further out where you are in a rural community, there is school busing, but again, that is, it's going to be a ride for your children. So it could be up to an hour, and you want to look at that. Is that going to be feasible? Is your child going to be able to manage that? And if there was an emergency or you needed to get to the child, you're going to need a car. You're going to need the time to, allow to get to wherever you're getting to. So again, these are things that you have to consider when you're moving to anywhere, really, is what does that lifestyle mean, like for your family? What are you looking for, depending on the ages of your children? Medical facilities, we talked about, how close are you to the hospital? How close are you to a medical clinic? If it's not just the hospital, how close is the nearest walk-in clinic? So these are things, this is the first thing that I would say you'd want to write down and figure out what's most important. And so it'll help you in figuring out how rural do you want to be. The second factor, in my opinion, is one that has to be considered probably as also one of the top things, is access to internet. Now, as you move out of the sort of Greater Toronto area, suburbs, larger cities like Mississauga, Brampton, Vaughan, you're going to find that the speed of the internet is going to be slower. And depending on how much further you're going out, if you're, going into areas that are very secluded, you're going to find that it not only could the internet speed be slower, or it will be slower, you are going to have to find out if there's even service out there. And with people working online more so now than ever before, children are doing online schooling. This is something that has to be looked at before you make a decision on, buying a house in an area that may be an issue for getting internet. So for us, this was something that we considered. We definitely looked into this in terms of what are the speeds that we're going to get. And again, I call this a baby step for us. We moved out of a very large city called Brampton, but we only went half an hour north to get to a place called East Garofraxa, which is 5 minutes from a larger town called Orangeville. So our internet is great here. In fact, it's probably, better than in most cases, like in terms of, anything further north that you get to. I'll share an experience. My husband actually has another house in Rosemont, and it's about 30 minutes north of Orangeville, and internet speeds there are really slow. If you're watching TV or you're doing anything on the computer, he finds that the speed is much slower there. And though he's looked at other companies, bringing them in to see if he can upgrade this to any level, it's been difficult. And I know he's looked at what Elon Musk is doing in terms of the internet services that he's going to be providing through his company, and this is something that he's actually looking forward to see if perhaps that will help in terms of getting better internet at the Rosemont house. But here in East Garofraxa, we have really good internet, and so I work online. I've got a special needs child who's online doing a lot of things with like watching the Disney Channel and playing games and things like this. And so this is important, and I think for a lot of people more so now than ever before, internet speeds are going to be something that has to be considered. So before you pick the area, or as you pick the area, just make sure you look into this and figure out if it's going to support your family's needs. I recommend checking with the service providers, using the postal code, talking to neighbors, talking to people that perhaps live in the area, and just getting a sense of how their experience has been, because you don't want to move somewhere and every day sort of wonder why you did it, because it doesn't really serve your lifestyle, especially if you're working from home. So factor number 3, this is something that really is what's driving people, for me anyways, from those that I've talked to moving to north of the city, is pricing for housing. So the affordability is sort of been taken away when you're living in the larger cities, just because things are expensive and pricing just continually is rising. So for those people that are looking at moving to rural Ontario or getting into some of the smaller towns, they are finding it a little bit less on the pocketbook in terms of picking a house. If you're moving quite a bit out, meaning like you're in an area where, there might be a farmhouse and then nothing for miles on end, you've got 50 acres, you're going to find that the housing is definitely going to be cheaper, but you want to consider all the other costs. So gas delivery, hydro delivery, it's a little bit more when you're in a low density area, and it'll be costing you a little bit more. And also, you have to look at, how much driving are you going to do? Because if you're going to be using your vehicle, which you are going to need, there isn't really public transportation if the further out you get, then you want to look at gas for your car and maintenance. That's another huge one. So if you're driving in and out of Toronto every day for work, this is going to be, again, adding to your cost because you're going to be using your vehicle. You're going to obviously be filling it up, and that is a cost that has to be considered depending on how far you go out. The other thing you want to consider if you're buying sort of property, like more land space, is the maintenance of that. Snow removal, if you have a long winding driveway, though they look really nice in the winter, you have to know that the further north you go, you may get more snow, and you may need to either invest in a service or invest in some tools like a snowblower or at least something that's going to help you take care of that property. And that's again a cost. And we experienced this. I came from a very small subdivision where my backyard was the size of a postage stamp, and now we're on 1 acre. Lucky for me, though, my husband, in his previous life, he actually he owned a company, a landscaping company, and knew how to take care of a large property and had the tools and, the snowblower and the tractor and all of that, which really helps me because I wouldn't know the first thing about any of that. So I'm really lucky in that way. But if you are moving here and especially if you're moving from an area where you haven't had to take care of a lot of space and take out a lot of snow, then you are going to look, into the things that you are going to need to, help you in this lifestyle, because it is definitely different. And I do find here we do get way more snow, and that is something that I wasn't really used to. Although in Brampton, I didn't move that far away, but it's definitely even 30 minutes north is a change for me. Number 4, now I touched on this, but really it's about how far you are from commuting to work, grocery shopping, and even if you have young kids, if they're in any kind of sporting activities or you need to get them to places, then you have to look at, how much time is that going to add to your day, and also the cost. So for us, as a realtor, I'm on the road a lot, and I'm showing houses in all over the city. So yes, that is something that is going to, it does play a part in for me, but I'm not going into the office every day. I do have a home office, and I will go into the office once a week if I need something, but generally speaking, it's more to meet clients, but that's in my profession. So if your work is primarily from home, and now you are with COVID, perhaps your company is making that full-time option is to work from home, then it will save you money and time. But consider if you have children that have to get to, whether it's a community center or swimming lessons or skating lessons and other community programs, you do want to figure out how far is that going to be and what is it going to mean for you in terms of timing. The drives, I have to tell you, are beautiful. So even if it's a 20-30 minute drive, it's not the same when you live in a suburb or a large city like Brampton, Mississauga, Vaughan, Oakville, Burlington, any of those areas. It's like you're navigating through traffic, through housing, residential area. You're going through areas that are high traffic. Whereas when you move out further north, because these are smaller towns, there are less people, there's less cars, the drives are different. Even though it may still take you 20 to 30 minutes, you're not going to be as frustrated. At least for me, that's what I found. I love some of the drives that I take that are down country roads. And, it's just more peaceful. I just find that, there's always something beautiful to look at, even if it's the sunset and the skies are just the most beautiful colors, and you see beautiful farmhouses or barns, and it's just a different way of living, and what you see through your eyes and how you feel in your heart as you go through these areas. Moving here, what I did really love is the fact of being able to take these long country drives and look at some beautiful farms. One of the ones that I love is in Creemore. It's a lavender farm run by a family, and it's absolutely stunning. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And so this is, again, access to some beautiful nature. It calms the heart, in my opinion. That's been something that's been very, very good from the stress level perspective of just taking those long drives and being able to be in nature. And, once COVID ends, of course, this is going to get better because we'll be able to interact with community like farmers markets and different things like that. But honestly, this, as much as I'm talking about your commute and how much time is it going to add to your day, you want to consider also the benefits of that if that 30-minute drive is going to be more relaxing than in bumper-to-bumper gridlock traffic. Okay, so number 5 is something actually that you just kind of have to have in the back of your head, is when you are looking at reselling your home. So, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, if you're thinking that, okay, you know what, now you want to move, and it may not even be that long. You might think that after 5 years, you may want to move back to the suburbs just because life has changed, perhaps your work, things with the kids' schooling, maybe you want to be near the university your children are going to. What you may find for selling your home is that it might take a little bit longer than if you were living in a suburb where, of course, there's lots of people, lots of homes being exchanged, people are moving constantly. It is a different market when you are in a rural place because there's the demographics are different, and fewer people are buying properties like that. So the pool that we work out of is going to be different. And not to say that they don't sell, it's just that it's a very unique buyer, it's a unique lifestyle, and to say that, in other areas, homes are moving really, really quick, like within 2, 3, 4 days, you find, the sold sign going up. It is a little bit different depending on how rural you get in how long it will take to sell your property. So these are just things to consider because, this may not be your forever home, or maybe, but whichever way it is, the information that you have to make that decision is what's key to making the right decision. And I find that for those that, that we work with, the people that we help make these decisions, this process really helps them to figure out if this is the right move for them and their family. And also the adjustment is a little bit less because we've gone through sort of that process of figuring it out as we are, talking with our clients. So if you are thinking about maybe moving to rural Ontario, or figuring out if maybe this kind of living is for you, or maybe just knocking it off your list and saying, absolutely not, this is not for me, give us a call. We're here to help. So you can rest assured that we're going to give you all of the information that you need so that you're able to make that decision. So having said that, if you're thinking about relocating, moving, you're thinking about checking the Greater Toronto area out, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. Remember, you can even send that pigeon carrier. Days, nights, weekends, evenings. I've got your back when you're moving into the Greater Toronto area. Until the next video, I'll catch you later.